Hey guys, what's up? A few days ago, I made a more conversational video where I shared what I've been up to with writing over the past 3 months. I really enjoyed the relaxed nature of making that, so I thought I'd try another one like that and make it in the context of sharing a writing tip. Now, I'm by no means an expert writer. I actually feel really self-conscious about sharing writing tips because I feel like, who am I to give advice to people on this? My most recent published book, I've sold 7 copies of. So yeah, at the moment, I'm not feeling like this really amazing, skilled writer. But I want to have faith in myself that I do have something to share with people. The specific thing in this instance that I want to have faith in is my own practice. I know that I'm not the best writer in the world yet. I know that I'm getting better at it. But one thing that I do have faith in is that for years now, I've showed up every single day and I've written a lot. So maybe I don't have all this expert knowledge, but I do have a practice that I can lean on. I'm a writer because I write every day. So surely I've got something I can say about the subject of writing to you guys. I think most writers struggle with productivity. Like, they wish they could make better use of the writing time they have. Depending on your life circumstances, it might be pretty difficult to carve out enough time to sit and write like you want to. And one of the weird things that happens is when you don't have time to write, sometimes you're just bubbling over with ideas. But then when you finally sit down and you have the opportunity, your brain is frustratingly blank. It's something that I wrestle with too, but in my own personal writing practice, I've found one unique thing that's really helped me to make the most of my writing time. And so I'd like to share that little bit of advice with you today. The super top secret tip that I have to share with you is boredom. Now, that might seem like a really strange tip to offer to someone who wanted to be more productive, but hopefully I can make some sense of this and flesh it out. And I'm sure in future videos I'll be able to explain what I mean a whole lot better. But this is my first crack at it. We'll see how we do. Every morning I drive my daughter to daycare and then drive back to go to a coffee shop, and I start every day with about an hour and a half of writing. I feel really grateful for that opportunity, and I also want to make sure that I can make the most of it. One of the things I discovered from my morning drives is what I listened to on the drive made a big difference in how the writing session went afterwards. By instinct, I always want to be learning stuff. Like, I want to turn on some YouTube video about Chinese history or something and spend my 45-minute drive learning a bunch of useless information about that. I love learning. I have this, insatiable desire for it. But one of the things I found is I can't just keep bringing in information all the time. I get tuckered out. At a certain point, my brain gets full, and that has an impact on my creative capacity. It's like, at a certain point, if I've taken in enough information, or if I've used my brain a certain amount, something inside me requires a moment of stillness in order to process and recharge things. I feel uniquely blessed that I have the opportunity to go to a coffee shop every morning and write. Like, I'm really grateful for that opportunity, and I want to make the most of it. So I want to make sure that when I get there and write, that I can really write like I want to and produce something good. So I've been experimenting with ways to make my writing better. And one of the things I found is that if I drive my kid to daycare and to the coffee shop with absolutely nothing playing, I just sit in the void of nothing going on for 45 minutes and have this boring drive. That prolonged period of boredom is somehow like a wound up spring. I don't like being bored. It almost gathers this kind of nervous energy inside me. But I found that if I can be bored for a while and just sit with it, then when I get to my iPad and it's time to start writing, it's like all that boredom holds up this creative energy that can then just burst out when I sit and actually write. I have better writing sessions if I'm intentionally bored for a while before they happen. Apparently, Neil Gaiman does a similar thing to help his writing process. He'll go out into the backyard with his writing implements and the trees around him. And he gives himself permission to sit if he wants to and not write. He can sit and look at the trees. But inevitably, at some point, that gets boring to him. And then his only other alternative is to write, because he's got nothing else there. So he writes, and apparently that helps him write. Boredom is this thing that's gotten pretty rare since iPhones came around, I feel. Like, I remember before the iPhone era, moments where there was literally nothing to do with my time, and you had to just sit and kind of be bored with it. But ever since apps came around and social media and stuff like that, if you've got a phone in your pocket, then there's always a way to fill that emptiness, right? It's like now that we have iPhones, there aren't many opportunities for boredom anymore. And one of the things that I've noticed in my own life because of that is the fact that it's difficult for me to experience boredom means there's a very fixed limit in some ways on my potential. Keeping the iPhone as our example, when I'm sitting and writing and I've got my iPhone next to me, when I get a hitch in my writing where I don't know what to say, or maybe I'm doing some editing that's just not particularly interesting to me, that phone is right there with exactly what I want. Some kind of alleviation of the discomfort and pain. It's so easy to grab my phone for the 5th time in the past 5 minutes and just do a little scrolling to get that feeling of happiness. But one of the problems with having the phone there is that it's very difficult for me now to sit with the feeling of boredom and work through it. Sometimes in editing, for example, I could come up with a much better way to phrase a sentence if I was just able to sit with it and grind through the discomfort for a moment until the solution came about. If I can't deal with the boredom just because I haven't dealt with the boredom for 20 years because I've got this phone that always keeps me from being bored, then in a way, my capacity to write excellently has a very fixed limit, the extent to which I can feel bored while I work. Ever since I've discovered the ability of boredom to kind of help me spring past the limitations that I thought I had, I've gotten really enthusiastic about it. There's this movement called the dumb phone movement, where people trade in their iPhones for like one of those flip phones. And last week I ordered my flip phone. I don't have the SIM card yet, so I haven't tested it out, but I want to take additional steps of courage to experience some painful boredom and see what that discomfort can bring about in my writing practice. I feel really nervous. I've had an iPhone for like 20 years. And every 2 years or so, I sit and think like, oh, I would love to be able to give this up. It would be so nice to get rid of the iPhone because I used to read so many books when I was a teenager, you know, or I used to have such a different social life when I was a teenager. Whatever it is, like I've always been aware that the iPhone has somehow limited my life in a way that I really don't like. But in other ways, like, well, geez, the iPhone has blessed me in so many ways too, right? How many things would I not know that I know because of the blogs that I happened across on the iPhone, or the YouTube videos that I happened across on the iPhone when I was sitting in the doctor's waiting room or whatever. All those things might be lost to me if I got rid of iPhone. But I feel like the proof is in the pudding. I'm uncovering something beautiful and powerful about being able to sit with boredom and experience the life that exists beyond it. And I'm seeing it improve my writing. I'm able to focus a lot better than I used to be able to. So I'm going to play around with this dumb phone thing. My plan is I'm going to set the iPhone aside for 30 days and see if I can live without it. I'll identify all the areas of my life where the iPhone has helped me and is unable to help me, and I'll see if it's, something that's possible for me to do in my life. But I want to really lean into this boredom and see how far I can take it. That was the cat feeder. Boredom is kind of this nasty word because we associate the meaning of our lives with the excitement and the curiosity and the engaging experiences that we have. But I'm beginning to suspect that this thing that we call boredom, that we associate with being so bad, is actually just a feeling of discomfort that we have, rather than life itself being boring. I feel like if I can lean into boredom more and just deal with it living there, that it would give me the experience to see more of life that I'm unable to see when I just feel bored. So there you go. There's my random tip for the day. If you're sitting at your laptop and you just can't think of what to write, consider, if you dare, having a moment of absolutely nothing to do for some protracted period right before you sit down to write. Maybe that'll be like a springboard for you that makes writing come easier. Thanks for watching, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you have any other ideas of things I can talk about, please let me know in the comments. Hope you have a great day. Later.